that, Chris?
I thought since Arturo played Mahler 5.
He did. Right into my...
I would play just his little solo from his tune A Mis Abuelos from Danzon album back in the 90s, I think.
I was going to say, you know his stuff.
Yeah, so the next part, this has F sharps above double C. I can't really play that part.
It's a bit early still.
But that's one of my favorite tunes he ever did, and one of my favorite trumpet recordings and trumpet pieces ever. So I thought since he played Mahler 5, I'd play that for him. And it's usually he plays it on the flugel. But
he was very honored that you watched his hangout. He was really. He's on a boat on the Caribbean right at the moment, so I don't know if they even have Wi-Fi. But
good for him.
But welcome to the Horn Hangouts. That was one of the most gorgeous play-ins ever. Chris Martin, principal trumpet of the New York Philharmonic. Welcome. We're really, really happy that it's finally worked out. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And we are in an incredibly special space. Mm-hmm. This is the New York Philharmonic Archives, and there is so much history in here. And we wanted, before we start, to say a huge thank you. I don't know, where's Barbara? Barbara! This is Barbara Hawes, and Barbara is, you are a legend. Come on in here between us. Come on between us just for a sec.
Thank you.
I want to introduce you to Barbara. You are you're going on your knees in front of Chris. Yes. The head archivist, what is your title?
Archivist historian.
Archivist historian of the New York Philharmonic, and you have so much stuff in here. We walked in yesterday to check the space, and Leonard Bernstein's score of Mahler 9 just happened to be on the table. But in your honor, look what Barbara's looked out for you today.
Fantastic. I have not seen that.
Yes, and so Leonard Bernstein's score of Mahler 5. There you go.
He didn't move it to the clarinet.
He didn't change it over to the clarinet part, no. So, but he's written all sorts of stuff in here about what he feels about the. What did he say about this, Barbara?
Rage, hostility, sublimation by Mahler and hearer. Angry, bitter, sour. Issued with.
That's hard writing.
It's a little one. Said comforting lullabies, rocking a corpse.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's perfect, actually. Perfectly macabre for this piece.
Yes.
His tempo marking, I notice, is exactly mine as well. So that makes me feel better.
60.
60
yeah.
thereabout. Yeah, perfect.
60.
See, and this dynamic always seems to be an issue that people talk about.
At the
This
beginning
one.
of Mahler 5?
The shaping.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right there.
And interesting, he highlights that diminuendo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The amazing thing about your archive is that there's so much in here, but also you have everything archived online. So if any trumpet players are watching and they want to get the first trumpet part of Bernstein's parts, they can go online and it's all there.
With markings from the stage.
With all the markings.
Yeah. Right.
So who would have played first trumpet for Bernstein here in the New York Phil?
It would have been Bill Vacchiano. Mm-hmm. Bill Vacchiano. Mm-hmm. And then I think Phil Smith played it once in the 80s.
With Lenny.
With Lenny.
Yeah.
And then 50 years from now, there will be your parts up there too.
Yeah.
I'll work on my handwriting.
There you go. Keep it in mind. Make it interesting.
I will make it interesting.
As you always do. Okay.
We have Leonard Bernstein's Baton, made by a timpani player in the orchestra.
Saul Goodman. Saul Goodman, because he made his own mallets, would make then conductors' batons.
Wow, beautiful. Very light.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, and what makes this very different than other conductors' batons, to see then it's also very practical because it allowed him to keep it in his fingers, and then he could come down like that. Too.
Well, you showed me Toscanini's. This is Toscanini's baton, you guys. Look at the length of that. You could really poke out the eyes of the viola section with that, couldn't you? Not that anyone would want to.
Almost a Fritz Reiner length. I think his was even longer.
Incredible.
Was it?
There's a whole conversation there we should have.
Thank you for letting us
Absolutely.
come
Thank you
here
for coming.
and be here in this amazing
Anytime.
archive.
Thank you so much.
If any of you in New York, I can only recommend contact Barbara and come here. I got very humbled when I came in here yesterday, and Barbara said, "Oh yes, we have all Lenny's scores." She opens this huge, great big sliding door, and there are all his scores.
3,500 of them.
It's an amazing
Quite
place.
incredible.
And you can come and listen to any performances as well here, because we record nearly every single concert,
Everything.
and this is a place then where you can come and listen to it, as well as listening to Phil Smith or Bill Vacchiano and even Harry Glantz.
Speaking of Harry Glantz, Harry Glantz, sorry, Harry Glantz. We even
Glantz.
have his mouthpiece
We do.
here. Harry Glantz was principal trumpet in Toscanini's time.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
It's exactly. I buzzed it a bit. It's a fantastic mouthpiece, actually.
Is it?
The
It
rim
looks
is
a bit
great.
smaller than yours.
It's a bit smaller in the rim. The cup is nice. It's not so different from my cup, actually. And
No, it doesn't look
it's nice and open in the back, though, which is really great.
Good.
Which is sort of that. It explains his sound. He had this amazing focus, like a laser, but a huge, big, fat sound behind it. Yeah. So. It's,
And what a
it's
gift that
amazing.
you can just come and hear all these concerts.
It's
you
amazing.
know. So
Absolutely.
you're going to be inundated with trumpet players
I
from
hope
now on.
so. I hope so.
I hope so, too.
Thank you,
Okay.
Barbara, for
Thank
letting
you
us
for
come
coming.
here.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Barbara.
The wonderful Barbara Hawes from the New York Philharmonic Archives, who's off to Boston.
I'll see you again.
See you. Thank you so much. Right, everybody. We have also the head of your fan club.
Ah.
Ansel Norris is watching from Miami. Hello.
Excellent. Hey, Ansel.
Hi, Ansel.
I'm in his fan club.
They,
as well.
they have a rehearsal right now, so I think he's illegally tuned in on his iPhone, the typical trumpet player iPhone on the stand, looking like you're watching a music.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You wouldn't know about that.
Don't
Okay.
get caught.
And Gabe is here in the archive as well. Thank you, Gabe. He's written in the web address, the URL, that you can go into the archives with. And if you have any other archival questions about this place, then do write them in, because Gabe is ready to answer them all. But most people are going to want to ask you questions. You've had some people saying hello. Geek stuff. We love geek stuff. Jack Burt is watching and
Hey,
saying
Jack.
he wants a lot of geek stuff. And there's
me.
people getting ready for a concert. Jack would like Chris to talk about mouthpiece choices between piston and rotary. That's very geeky.
Very.
And but should we just start with geeky questions, because
Sure,
there's a
yeah.
lot of online. You can find out where you studied, where you
Sure.
started in a band. Your dad was a horn player,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
so were you.
He
You
still plays a bit on the weekends.
you abandoned us. You're not a horn player anymore.
Not really.
That's okay.
I told you it's too hard. Horn is too difficult for me. So
I know that feeling. And then you were in the band. But,
I was.
And then
I grew up in the band world. My father, my uncle, they were both my teachers growing up. And then also in this country we have the drum and bugle corps world. So I grew up in that as well. And I spent a lot of time marching around a football field and playing outside and
it's great for the chops.
great for unless somebody runs into you. Yeah.
Oh God! If someone says stop and you don't get that, you're looking at the music, and then the
Exactly.
trumpet hits his back first.
Yeah.
Ouch.
But so I grew up in that world, but I quickly, thanks to my dad as well, I fell in love with the orchestra. And I can remember still the first recording he ever played for me, the pictures at an exhibition, CSO Schulte. And from there, of course, was hooked. And I still loved the band, and I still, going to school at Eastman, I played more often in the band and the wind ensemble than I ever did
Did
in
they
orchestra.
march at Eastman? No.
No.
Okay, just wondering.
Terrible football team, the conservatory.
Well, yeah, and then after Eastman, you got your first job on the way to another job.
Right,
I heard.
that's true. I did. So I finished Eastman, and I'd applied to some grad school, and I didn't get in. So I thought, oh well, what am I going to do? So I spent the whole summer practicing, and I had a sort of a trial week coming in an orchestra in Buffalo. But on the way, it just so happened that the Philadelphia Orchestra had an audition just the weekend before, and I thought, well, I'll try. I don't want to live in my parents' basement if I can help it. So I didn't know anybody in Philly. I knew of David Bilger. I knew the orchestra from recordings, but I didn't know anyone there. No connection to the city or the orchestra. So I thought, no pressure. I'll just go. So I went and I just played. The way I played. Yeah. And that's the best. Of course, sometimes that's when you play your best and you're surprised and good things can happen.
You got
and
principal trumpet in Philly, and you were age like 22.
Associate,
It was
yeah,
associate, but
yeah.
still had to play first.
Yeah, I was 22. I had no business doing that. I was very lucky and grateful to those guys for giving me a chance. It's a big risk to take on a kid. And I had shaved my head, not bald, but almost bald at that time, because I had dyed my hair blonde the summer before in a terrible move, and so I'd shaved it all off. So I was very strange looking when I
Chris,
showed
I didn't
up.
know you had such a colorful youth. Dyeing your hair blonde.
It was a long time
My
ago.
goodness.
So I was very lucky, and I was there for 3 years, and then my former teacher retired from Atlanta and went to teach at Eastman, interestingly enough, and so I replaced him in Atlanta for 5 years, and then was in Chicago for 11 before here.
And you've been here since 2016
Mm-hmm.
in New York. Stephen Burns is watching from Chicago and said, "We miss you, man."
Steven. Yeah, I miss you too, man.
Hi, Stephen. Yes, I mean, principal trumpet, Chicago Symphony and New York Phil, I think those are two of the biggest jobs in the world. How does Chicago and New York compare as cities? Because you can hear all the traffic going on out here. It's quite loud.
It's true. New York is obviously, it's New York. Chicago's it's a big city. It's an exciting place, but it's definitely a bit more chill, a bit more relaxed than New York. In terms of music and culture and arts, they're both great places. The biggest difference, I would say, is in Chicago there's a fierce loyalty to anything Chicago, and that's definitely true of the orchestra. And in New York, it's a bit more.
Well, there's something going on out there right now. Fire trucks galore. I don't know if you can hear that. Maybe the
French horn party.
Yeah. Oh yes. No, we finished that last night. That's why I'm feeling a little. Yes, that was quite a big party. I tell you. By the way, Claire Martin has written in, "Hey Daddy, I love you."
Hey Claire.
And we have a gorgeous picture of you and Claire. There's a couple of them. I just love them. Can we have a look at those?
Sure. This was a while back. This was her first trumpet, and she's still playing. She'll
graduate to horn soon.
I hope so. Honestly, I really hope so. She still plays every day. She does a 5-minute warm up every morning.
5-minute warm. That's so sweet.
Yep, I do my warm up, and then she comes and plays on a cornet, and she.
And how does it sound?
It's loud.
What sort of exercises does she do?
It's loud. So she's doing right now. She's just doing long tones from G to C, but she can play sometimes G and even E at the top of the staff. So.
Oh, cute. We'll get her in for her own.
She has a gold mouthpiece.
A gold mouthpiece.
I have one gold mouthpiece, and she chose that one for herself, of course.
I understand that. I get that. Okay, so that's basically your potted history, and but we can Google the details in between, which are great. So let's get on to the geek stuff.
Okay.
I mean, we have people. There's someone watching. Geo's watching in Norway. My mum's watching in England. Martin is watching in Belgium. Richard in Atlanta. Someone's asked a question, does rotary mean Berlin is next? Oh, we can get onto that later. Pepe's watching in Italy. Anyway, let's get back to Jack. You know Jack, don't you? Jack Burt and his rotary. Mouthpiece choices between piston and rotary.
Okay. So we're nerding out. So.
Oh, we like nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just nod and pretend I understand.
So I will be perfectly honest with you, Jack, and tell you that sometimes, depending on the time in the season and how it falls, I will play, but that's the same mouthpiece for rotary that I play on piston, sometimes. But usually, so I play, normally I play, my piston mouthpiece is a Jeff Park mouthpiece. It's basically a 1.5 5B, 24 and regular symphonic backbore. And my piston mouthpiece, I got this from Hans Gotch, and it's sort of a copy of his. It's a 16E, and
gosh, I hope everyone's writing this down
so
because I've forgotten.
So 16E, it's about it's 1.5, maybe B-ish, but a little bit different shape. And it's quite big in the back though. The backbore's quite big. The throat is maybe 23, maybe on the way to 22. So for me, it's the best. It's a better sound for 90% of rotary repertoire. The most important thing is that the as much as possible the rim can feel the same, and I find generally a bit more open throat and backbore helps the feeling, the balance in the rotary.
That was a question because we horn players, we don't like to change. You guys are changing mouthpieces all the time.
Yeah.
You always see trumpet players reaching into their their pockets underneath their tails and coming out with another mouthpiece for another bit.
Yeah.
But we try not to get the rim. If I mess up if I play on a different rim, then I've had it.
I believe I understand that.
How do you guys do that? How many different mouthpieces do you?
Well, I probably have 300, 350 at home.
Okay, a real mouthpiece nerd.
Of those, literally, I play these. This is
okay.
it. So I play the one I spoke about on the piston, the rotary, 70 on the piccolo trumpet, and sometimes I use Curry TF trumpet flugel, which is nice for some really soft things. The Mahler third, Song of the Nightingale. Sometimes I use that, and then pretty much the only other mouthpiece I use is it's a Jeff Park, same rim, just a C cup and a little bit smaller in the back for lead stuff, for pop shows, or playing West Side Story, things like that. And that's pretty much it.
We have a picture of you guys playing West Side Story, the New York Phil playing West Side Story, and you got Mr. Legend.
The man.
The man in. You had Wayne down, didn't you?
We had Wayne,
Do you have a picture of that, Tim?
Yeah.
Can you see, where is he? He's in the back. He's the tall guy in the middle.
He's the really tall guy. Yeah. He's the guy who looks like he can play Triple C.
Well, he can. And actually, he's promised me he'll come and do a Horn Hangout too.
Excellent.
So we're going to get Wayne on the
That's
Horn
great.
Hangouts. We've got someone else watching on from sunny California. Bob Malone is watching.
Hey, Bob.
So, hi, Bob.
How are you?
But Wayne came in to do all that really that
Amazing.
one. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, high F sharp above high C sounds like that's like his warm-up note, and then from there it's like another octave, no problem.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, and the nicest guy.
Well, I like to start with all this nerdy geek. We have two big, if you guys are watching on Facebook, I think it's going out live on Facebook. We've managed to do that. Chat amongst yourselves in the Facebook chat, but I'm using the chat on the website because the Facebook chat, you only see 3 messages at a time and it can get very confusing. So I'm on my website on the chat, but I know that 2 big trumpet pages have helped promote this, Trumpet Land and Trumpet Lovers.
Excellent.
And those are 2 very big trumpet pages, and they were both very excited that you were coming
That's
on.
very
So
nice.
thanks to both of you guys for, and I know they're going to be chasing you for their own interviews. And I said, fine. I'm just farming you out.
Sure, no worries.
So that's great. Thanks for all that promotion. So if you're watching on Facebook, fantastic. If you've got questions for Chris, come and put them in my iPad, okay, from the page, then I can get them. Frederick Troy said, how did you work on your sound when you were a younger player?
That's a good question. 2 things. One is the most important is your ears, and my longest teacher as a child was a guy named Larry Black, who taught everybody down where I grew up in Georgia, and he would make this was back in LP days, and he would make excerpt tapes.
LP, do you think half of these people watching know what an LP is? Records.
Records, yeah. Exactly, yeah. In some ways, they still sound the best.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So he would make excerpt tapes, and I would driving in the car, sitting, studying, trying to do homework that I didn't want to be doing. I would listen to these for hours and hours a day, listening to Phil Smith and Herseth and Vacchiano and Tom Stevens and Mager and Voisin, and so programming that into your mind so that you hear it waking, sleeping, all the time, eating. That's the most important thing. If you can't hear it, then you have nowhere to go. And then from there, for me, I always found the most important thing, the luckiest thing for me as a kid, was to start small. To start with a good focus on the mouthpiece, and a mezzo piano sound on the trumpet that was clean and clear, and from there start trying to build it out and make it bigger. So starting with a good, nice, small, focused, pretty sound, and then make it bigger instead of the other way.
So you didn't have one ideal sound. You mixed and matched from all your favorite trumpet players.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, we all have our sound in our heads,
Of
don't
course.
we? It's everyone's, and that's why we love it. Everyone's unique,
Yeah.
but you still got to blend in. And trumpets. I mean, trumpets have to do incredible things. They have to be the hero. They have to whisper.
Yeah.
They have
You
to
have to
play.
sing a song. You have to scream.
Yeah.
You have to do it. Yes, absolutely. And if you don't hear it, if you don't hear examples, that's one thing. And if you're lucky enough to live in a place with live concerts, then you should go all the time.
You have to hear everything.
Yeah,
I mean, here in New York, all the students, they're lucky things. I know it's expensive sometimes, but I'm sure there's student tickets for everything.
There are student tickets, and they have ways of breaking in. We always had as kids.
Oh, I know.
We always had ways.
I know. Our students know exactly how to get into the Philharmonic, which door to go through that is not manned between those minutes. And
those are the kids. They're the ones who will make it.
I absolutely agree with that. We were talking about that last night with some of the horn players after Julie's hangout. It's the players that burn for it, that will do anything to get into a concert, that will go to jazz concerts, that will go to art galleries, that will just absorb culture as much as possible, because it's not all just about going into a room and doing your practice.
It's true. The famous advice for someone who wants to be a performer is if you can think of anything else you want to do that. Because you need desperation. You need the desperation of having nothing else.
Yeah.
No other option.
Yeah. Trumpet lovers have written in. Thank you, you guys. We are sharing. They've shared it on their page.
Hey guys. Thank you.
Can you please ask what was the excitement like of performing Lincoln? I know everyone wants to talk about your Lincoln, the 4th of July. It was a huge deal.
Yeah,
you know, John Williams wrote this solo for you.
Yeah, it was a huge deal, and it's a little bitty thing. It's a little tune, but it's
That's the one Andrew Nelson's played, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I was so proud of him.
He was
I
great.
kept thinking, is that a playback? But no.
No, he was.
It
great.
was him.
I was there that week visiting our family. We were all visiting together, and it was great to hear. He did a great job.
Quite extraordinary.
He's a diligent practicer.
Yeah.
He really works hard every single day. So it was very exciting. Never played for that many people live. I'd never played with that much makeup on my face.
You had makeup on. I thought you were just looking pretty that day. Particularly pretty.
No. And you know, it was 95 degrees, and there were bugs everywhere, and there were cameras here and cameras here, literally.
Yeah.
But to play that piece anytime is a gift for me, and to play it with John conducting was a dream. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking before, but once,
because it's so short, you know, and it goes quite high up.
Yeah, right out of the gate,
Yeah.
you're covering
Yeah.
an octave and a fifth or something, and it's beautiful and lyrical, and you know John is right there, and he knows how it goes. But to see him, always to play for him is, and I think every musician I know feels the same, that he's like your dad, you know, he's like your granddad. You know, he's always on your side.
I want to play for him. He cancelled our Waldbühne concert, unfortunately. We were all ready to go with film music, and then some guy called Rattle had to take it over, which was also okay.
That's not bad.
But I know I've never met John, and
I hope you do. I hope you do.
The god of all horn writing.
Of course.
You know, he's just a genius. Oh well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you to Trumpet Lovers for sharing that, and also for asking that great question. I saw a good question. They're coming in fast and furious. Keep your questions coming in. If I don't get to all of them, I'll make sure that Chris gets to see who's written in, and we've got Anya Mattison has said Andrew Nelson's a proud Latvian, so we have a proud Latvian watching. And someone said happy birthday, John. Who's John, and who's his birthday? It must be someone's birthday. John Williams.
Oh, it's his birthday.
It's his birthday today.
Yeah, or yesterday.
No, yesterday.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was in the haze of horns yesterday. I missed that. Well, happy birthday, John. Yes, so we've got now loads of people wishing John happy birthday, which is very nice. Enrico in Ohio said, how did you build endurance in college without injuring or overplaying? Did you take days off often? Now, we often get this question of people that have injured themselves by overplaying. I never had that. I never practiced enough. But you trumpet players do tend to go for it,
Yeah,
don't you?
so I'll be honest with you. I made many times the mistake of over-practicing and overplaying. When I was in school, I played and I was in the band, and I sometimes in the orchestra, but always practicing etudes and excerpts. And I took a lot of auditions also as a kid, as a student in school. So I was always practicing. I played in the big bands too. I loved that music, still love that music. So and of course quintets and all those things. So I was always playing a lot, and I was practicing all the time, usually too much at a time. So what I learned. Too late.
Did your teachers not say, hey, take a rest, take a break?
For sure, they did, for sure.
But we didn't.
But we didn't listen. Yeah, it took me a while to listen. But what I learned eventually was that instead of practicing a long time and then then feeling really tired and resting a long time, I play a little bit, rest, play a little bit, rest, a little bit, rest. Maurice Andre has this great, he has he had a great formula that he would say that, play 20 minutes, rest 20 minutes. Play 15, rest 15. Play 10, rest 10. Play 5, rest 5. And then put it away for a couple of hours, few hours, and then come back. And that way you never get overburdened. It's
hard to build that into our busy modern day lives.
Yeah, it's hard. For me these days, I play between 20 and 45 minutes, but never more than that, and always resting in between.
But when you were at college and you didn't know that, how did you recover from this? It just didn't buzz after a while?
It just didn't buzz after a while. Yeah, it was always, I think there's a point in your life where you have to do something like that, where you have to play a lot to get the hours in and to build all the technique we have to work on. And for me, some things were natural. For me, my sound was fairly natural. Other things, articulation, flexibility was not so natural. So I had to spend a lot of time figuring those things, really building those from the bottom. So that's the other thing too, is to, in your practice, to not just play over and over again the same things, or if you want to play Tomasi concerto, just playing Tomasi over and over again. It's figuring out what's the problem. Why can't I play this figure? Is it range? Is it flexibility? What is it? And isolate that little thing for 15 minutes, and then you've helped the entire piece. That's, for me, it was a slow lesson to learn.
The best students are the ones that teach themselves. It's great to feel wanted as needed as teachers, but actually,
that's true. That's what we, with our students, I think that's what we try to. The first lesson always is, no, I don't know everything, of course, and I have my way, but that doesn't mean it works for you. So the important thing for you as a student is to be analytical, to be critical, and apply what works and discard what doesn't.
Yeah. There's a nice little bit of trivia that's just come in after all the mouthpiece things. Stephen Brode said Vacchiano had a vest like a hunting vest, which he loaded with 5 to 6 mouthpieces like shotgun shells.
That's a great idea. I've always thought it would be great. I thought it would be great to have sort of a revolver of mouthpieces.
Yeah.
And you could flip one and
that's
be
actually
really,
not a bad idea. It would make it quite heavy, but still, you could have a high note mouthpiece and the sound mouthpiece and the. I love that. A question came in, which I would love to ask from Bridge Timp. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. From Ben Salem. Because you've been in the New York Phil for a year, Chris, has your approach to playing change with the New York Phil compared with the CSO brass, and that's a very good moment to go into this tradition of CSO brass is huge. We were just there last week, had the horns, and we had Gene Percorni on, and he mentioned you as well. He was talking about how the brass starts at the bottom at the top, and how he and Bud Herseth sort of really felt like they were creating this and I find it still like that. When you were up the top there. Have you had to change anything coming here? It's a totally different brass. We have some pictures of you in the CSO brass section, I think. There's one with you, Maestro Muti and Charlie Vernon. I know that one. And
from a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And then a couple of you with your section now. There's one with someone with a silly hat on in one of them.
Oh yeah. Ethan's Hanukkah hat. I think that was from a holiday brass concert around Christmas time.
But
it's a good
has your
question.
approach to your playing changed?
A bit, not entirely.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. Okay. So one of the great things about this world we live in is so the globalization of culture. And it's not a new thing. Phil Smith was in the Chicago Symphony before he was in the New York Philharmonic.
I did not know that.
Herseth,
so that is really you're carrying on a tradition.
Yeah. And Herseth studied in Boston with Mager. So a definite French influence there, coming into a German-American orchestra in Chicago. And so the ideas are not only they're ubiquitous in America, but across the world. I learned so much from Gansh, from Gabor, just talking and playing.
Gabor, I haven't seen him on the chat yet. I know he wanted to watch. We have a picture of you and your section in Gabor last time he was here, right?
That was in
where were you? No.
Budapest.
You went to Budapest?
Yeah.
Were you when did you play there?
Last tour.
And Gabor came out to look after you guys?
He did. It was great. He took us to dinner, and it was an amazing goulash, and I think...
They only eat goulash over there.
I'm still working on it, I think, a year later. So anyway, a bit. So the one thing I would say is the most different since coming here to New York is generally playing everything a bit longer, but with the same kind of articulation.
Is that because of the whole acoustics, do you think?
I think so. Orchestra Hall in Chicago is beautiful, but quite dry these days. This hall here is it's not dry, but it's not particularly resonant, and it's very large. It's really long front to back, and so here I find that if you don't have even more sustain behind phrases, it gets lost. So that's the biggest thing I would say. But the brilliance is the same. The articulation, the aggressive quality, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I know what you mean.
But the forward quality is really the same.
And also, brass players are great wherever. Brass sections are brass sections, and the New York Phil has such a great tradition. You guys seem
It
like
does.
you also have a lot of fun.
We have a lot of fun.
Peter Stark said he was at the new Christmas concert with you and Doc Severinsen,
And Doc,
Phil
yeah.
Smith. What
Yeah.
a concert! Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
We have a picture of that too with Doc and Phil, and it was an amazing concert. Doc he's 90 this year, and
Incredible, really?
incredible. Sounds great. Yeah, he came out. He played the second half we played him on, and he finished with his Tonight Show theme. Yeah, da-da-da-da. And he's got his high E flat like nothing, just like
Incredible.
Nothing. Like, just
That
singing.
that tells us a lot about you have to watch how he does it, because if he's still getting that sound at 90, he's doing something anatomically very, very right.
He is. Watching him play, his setup is great. Corners are great. His chin is great, and everything in here is just free. And then his body, when he breathes, he works hard, but he doesn't work hard up here. And all this is it's the same.
I had that feeling with Arturo as well.
He'll take it's the same.
Yeah.
They take a big breath with a lot of power,
Yeah.
but there's nothing.
And the
this is up here.
airstream. The airstream, they managed it.
Yeah.
I showed you that video of Arturo with this airstream, this ball going
With
up
the
and
ball
down.
going up.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Do you have any sort of little gadgets that you use?
I used to use not that one, but I used to use the little guy where you breathe in and out of the tube and you
Yeah.
hold the ball
Yeah.
steady, which is a much easier version of Arturo's toy. These days I use a burp for buzzing, and I use just a little breathing tube for exactly this idea that speaking about Doc and Arturo, that when you breathe that you can fill up, but without using any of your upper. And so the nice thing about a little tube is it just opens.
It's like an inhaler.
It does look like an inhaler. Is it just it reminds you to keep your throat
Keep your
open.
throat open.
Keep the throat
I remember
open.
Charlie Ronan saying, "Duck, suck, dark air." Suck dark air. So yes, well,
It's a good Southern
I
accent.
know.
Yeah. So I don't use that many gadgets other than those.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do before a concert is to just take the tuning slide out and the mouthpiece out and a little breath through the tuning slide.
it's good for the spit.
Yeah, and then
You just spat all over the Philharmonic Archives.
Sorry, Barbara.
Carpet.
A few nice, easy ones about the same time in and about the same time out.
Yeah, yogis do that as well, but
Exactly.
without the trumpet.
Yeah, it's like a little meditation moment.
great.
Yeah, just being aware of the breath in and the breath out, and then some really fast in and out, and then I'm ready.
Great.
Usually ready to go. That for me is more important than buzzing before a concert.
We warm up so to get the breath going. We don't need that buzzing; it'll come in the concert. But to get the breath moving, that's great. I'm going to try that through my horn.
Exactly.
It's a little bit further to go through by the time. If you free blow through a horn, it takes a
That's
little bit
true.
longer to get it all out.
Yeah,
but,
that's true. That's true. Maybe the B flat side.
You have amazing people are watching from everywhere. Andrew Lee, hello from Taiwan. Yuri Balbona from the Philippines. Valerie Ankini from Colburn in LA. That's great. I just was
great.
there.
Excellent.
Pepe asks, who's your favorite composer?
Oh,
Is that impossible to say?
that's
I find these
impossible.
favorite questions quite difficult.
Favorite questions are difficult. Yeah, it's like saying what's your favorite thing to eat.
Exactly. Or your favorite child, but that's easy with you.
Yeah, that's true. Only one choice. Of course, to play Mahler is a dream. To play Bach is a dream. Those are the first two that always come to mind. And I think for me, I find I was thinking about daily routines and all the technical things and all the etudes and all those things, blah blah blah. But I always find for me that if I play a little Mahler and a little Bach every day, that keeps me whole in some way.
Yeah, no, yeah. By the way, Bob Malone says, careful what you ask for. A quick change multi-mouthpiece adapter is on the way.
Excellent.
Peter Stark said Maynard also used to say that warm-up was about the breath as much as anything. So
I saw Maynard live once as a kid, as a 15-year-old, and it was when he was on his Big Bop Nouveau tour. That tells you how long ago it was.
Wow.
And he, it was the same. And I watched him, and I would watch him. He would buzz, he'd do the lips a little bit before he'd play. But the main thing he would do is get his breath going, and then he'd play.
yeah,
I
it's
still remember
very
that.
important. I'm going to go and breathe a little bit more when I go and practice later. Matthias is watching in Vienna and says, how do you prepare your embouchure for a new season? For example, today Mahler 6 and tomorrow Schumann 2.
How do you prepare your embouchure?
Yes, how do you prepare your embouchure? With salt and pepper?
Sautéed. That's the daily. It's all that all comes down to your daily work, and I don't take many days off the trumpet. I take about 5 or 7 days off in a year.
And do you take those in the summer, or do you?
Sort of spread throughout, and then in the summer I'll usually take Summer I'll take usually 5 days, 4 or 5 days off at the most.
It's not very long.
I know, it's not
It'll
very
get longer, I think. Or
Probably.
maybe not. Martin Kretzer, you know, the principal,
Yeah.
former principal trumpeter of the Berlin Phil, and he's still playing in the section. He says on holiday he prefers to practice 20 minutes a day than having a big break.
I agree. For me, that's the thing. Is I take a lot of light days. A lot of light days. On a Sunday after 4 concerts in a row of heavy repertoire, I'll take an easy Sunday. I might play 20 minutes in the morning, maybe another 20 or half hour at night, and that's enough. Easy pieces. So it's a difficult thing to answer. But so everyday practice, and then for me, it's about keeping all of the technique going, keeping all of the skills going, all the horns going. So I play every day these trumpets, every single day.
Every single trumpet, every single day.
I play B-flat trumpet, C trumpet, piston, B-flat or C rotary, piccolo trumpet, every day.
It's terribly complicated. I'm glad I just have one horn.
But so many triggers and
yeah,
things. I get confused always. So keeping all of that together, keeping my stamp in Schlossberg and Arbon and
yes, you
irons
brought a
and
stack
violin.
of books.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that because a lot of people say, "Oh, I like to do those exercises in that red book with the cover," and then was like, "What?"
Yeah. So I play a stamp every day.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold these up into the camera.
So the first pages of stamp, he talking about the breath and lip buzzing, mouthpiece buzzing. And then for me, I talk about this. I've talked about this in every class I've ever done. So sorry if you've heard this many times.
No, we want more. We want more.
But every day the breath, like a meditative kind of breath, where you're really aware of the in and the out. Lip buzzing, mouthpiece, lead pipe buzz, and then to the trumpet. And then I do stamp every day, just the basic
Gabor
stamp.
too.
Yeah, pedal C to high C, maybe pedal C a little bit higher, and then you're good.
Good. But there's like 20 other books.
Yeah. So irons is great. Irons group 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, all of them are really great. So Earl irons. Flexibilities, really great. None of my books have a cover.
Good. I like that.
Schlossberg drills, intervals are great, the scales are great.
Can one of you write the names of these books again in the chat for us so that the trumpet players watching will know what that is? So we've got stamp, we've got irons.
Schlossberg.
The Daily Drills.
Also a New Yorker.
Daily Drills.
Daily Drills.
Who was this?
Max Schlossberg.
Schlossberg.
Also a New Yorker.
Yeah. Max Schlossberg was a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So scales in there are great. All the interval studies. Good practical things.
Good.
So good etudes, right? Longinotti.
Etudes. We've got Longinotti.
Again, no cover.
Will
Top
Smith.
Tones.
No. M.W. Smith.
Yeah.
Top
tones.
Top tones.
Brandt etudes, Reynolds.
I didn't know half of these. Reynolds, we had Reynolds.
You have Reynolds.
One of our horns last night for the Met, and studied with Vern Reynolds. So,
wow.
Yeah. Are they as hard for us as they are for?
They are hard, just as hard for us.
You know what? These are exactly the same.
They're the same, yeah.
I was going to say. They're exactly the same.
It just says trumpet.
Transcribed, okay. And Vasily Brandt, etudes for trumpet. So you like go in there and you. Oh, these were done. These were edited by Bill Vecchiano.
Yeah. And so good words in there, but good.
Marcel Bitch. It's what it says here.
Beach. I'm not getting involved in that.
And these are the lyrical French.
Lyrical and very technical, both.
Yeah.
And they're wide.
Okay.
They cover a lot of register, and good preparation for any French rep.
Thank you for bringing those.
Yeah,
These are you schlepped them all the way in. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So that is Chris's library. And I have a nice question here. Sean Alexander from Manhattan School of Music says, can you explain the poo attack? I say, what is the poo attack and how to do it correctly?
I played a recital last week at University.
Yeah, someone was there, University of Georgia.
Yeah,
Delmar was there.
Oh yeah, hey Delmar.
Yeah.
How are you? Good to see you. They said they call me the poo guy.
Charming.
So the idea with so it's.
Why does the word poo make everyone giggle? Everyone's giggling now. I don't know what it is. Grow up, everyone.
That's part of the charm of the poo attack. Is that
tell us.
It keeps things light, but the whole idea is that it's a way to remind yourself to bring the embouchure forward into the mouthpiece and into the horn.
Can you show us a poo attack?
Yeah, of
please?
course. So the goal is to be able to make an attack without the tongue. Yeah. So there's the breath attack, right, which is bring the air to the lips, which for me is sometimes useful to get rid of tension, but not so much. For me, the best way to practice attack bring the lips is to have the lips touching, set for them, and then bring the air. So the idea being, if you have the attack without the tongue, the P, then when you bring the tongue in,
You're going
you
poo.
have a nice ping.
So you had pee, but then poo.
P, yeah, exactly.
Sorry, grow up.
Poo and then two with the tongue.
Poo and two.
So that's the idea. The idea is that the lips are together, thinking of that syllable brings them together, and you set in the mouthpiece. So everything outside is strong, everything in the mouthpiece is soft, elastic, supple, and they're touching, ready to play. And when the tongue releases, it's immediate response.
And is that something you would recommend right at the very start of the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. I don't usually bring the tongue in until that works. So there's never a hitch. There's never a holding back of the air or holding back of the sound. So it's always right there.
I'm going to try that in the horn. Will it
Simple
work on all
idea.
brass instruments?
I think so. I've never tried it with low brass students, but I think the concept is.
They have a lot more room to do stuff.
They do have room, and we don't have much room.
No.
Especially
No.
you guys.
No, we
Especially you
don't.
guys. So if you're
We have room for improvement.
always. So the idea is the forward, but also for me it's a confidence issue too. That if I can feel it, if I can feel a high G, then if I can feel it here, then I know it's there.
I saw in one of your interviews you said body language is a big part to being a trumpet player or any performer.
Yeah, that's true.
So meaning you get on the stage and you think.
Yeah, I think that body language is. Charlie Geyer, my old teacher, told me once, we were talking about being nervous, getting nervous. I'd played a recital and I had gotten really nervous. And he said, if you feel nervous, just pretend you're not. Try and just look the part. Imagine you're looking in a mirror, and how would you look if you're feeling confident? Right, exactly. And so you don't have to be overly aggressive, but it's just about for me, I sort of take it as, especially sitting in the orchestra, that it's not about this most of the time. It's about feeling sort of back and down.
Do you play with your back on the chair, or you
usually
a little bit? Yeah.
Usually a little bit back, but upright,
of course.
and but a little bit back. For me, that feels the best. Frees up the torso.
From Spain, Juan, do you have a favorite trumpet excerpt?
Ooh,
You probably have ones that are not so favorite, but favorite ones. These favorite questions are quite difficult, but they're.
Yeah, sure.
People are.
All the standards are great. I really love the. One of my favorite things to play is the Song of the Nightingale, the beautiful lyrical solos and the that's fun too. But the beautiful, the really soft lyrical stuff. I love that.
And you also loved the tip that Gabor gave us for Petrushka, didn't you?
Gabor, that's the best.
Gabor,
best tip.
you made Chris very happy with that. So basically, you just have to think of the Radetzky March and then play it.
You think of Radetzky March and then play. Yeah, absolutely.
You got to try that out and let us know how that goes next time Petrushka came. Steve in Seattle has said it's quite possibly the most I can't even say it this morning.
Scatological.
That's what I'm trying to say. Hangout of all time. And for those of you that don't know what that means, look it up.
Look it up. Yeah.
Maybe, possibly. We've had 4 Horn Hangouts in 5 days.
It's a lot.
But they've been amazing.
That's a lot of
And
hanging.
you are an absolute wonderful, wonderful finish to our time in New York. Yeah, look, you got a.
Oh, this is it.
Yes, well, not quite finished. You got a little mug for that. Cheers.
Cheers.
I usually spill stuff, and I was so terrified of spilling water all over Toscanini's Baton.
I know. I can't believe I spit on it. I'm sorry.
That's quite. I know you spat on the carpet, and we also had something made for you. You can take these home for Claire. Have a quick look in there.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, Shane, if you can even get close to
wow,
these.
trumpets.
We have trumpet M&Ms.
Trumpet M&Ms.
Horn Hangouts M&Ms.
Amazing.
And those are for you to take home in a little.
You're very kind. Thanks, guys.
Send my love to Claire and Margaret, who I assume is also watching. Your wife is an organ player.
She is.
And Margaret, we had a message for. I had the idea that you should start up this wonderful series in New York of all visiting organ trumpet players should come and play trumpet and organ recitals with you, because I know Gabor loves that. Thomas, they all love to play with them. Why do trumpet players love to play with organs? I
think it's first and foremost it's such a it's such a wide bed of sound that it's a very comfortable, easy feeling. Intonation can be sometimes a little scary with
the organ of intonation.
Yeah, but they just fit together.
Yeah.
It's really perfect match.
Well, that's good. So I hope that's going to, next time I come, I'm going to come to a trumpet.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah, you're going to get it. Couple of more questions. I mean, we've been going 50 minutes. Can you believe it?
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
gone so quickly, and there's been so many of you in the chat, so many great questions. If you want to write and tell us where you're watching from, and say hi to Chris, he'll get all the messages, I promise. And on Facebook too, we're going to go through all those messages later as well.
I can write some
Delmar said, what schools in the NYC area are you going to be teaching at, or are you already teaching at? Which is quite good for people to know who want to come and study.
That's a good question. I'm only at Juilliard. So I've done some classes around, but I'll only be at Juilliard. So I don't have any students at the moment.
No one's applied yet? Or what?
No.
Guys,
yeah.
get applying. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Trumpet lovers, because I love them, I'm going to ask them for a quick, one of the last questions of today. What can you just tell us your very first contact with the trumpet?
Sure. I wasn't born sitting in marching band rehearsals with for my father's band, and my first memory of the trumpet.
They brought you in your baby baby chair.
I'd just been born. Yeah, I'd just been born, and I would sleep there in the football stadium. But my first memory of the trumpet is in drum and bugle corps. Someone playing. It was technically a bugle, but basically a trumpet. Someone playing a very high note in a solo. That's my first memory. And I remember thinking, I got to try to do that. So.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, you've played many high notes and more, and you are just a gift to our brass world, Chris.
You're very
really.
Kind. As are you.
No.
The Hangouts are amazing.
We love the Hangouts, and we're so happy to have you. But it's not going to be your last one, I promise. Next time I come back, we want more. We want more breathing. We want more technical stuff.
Okay, great.
We want to know. We want to hear an etude from every single one of these books. What do you think you would have done if you hadn't become a trumpet player? What other stuff did you?
That's a good question.
To
do? I was really in love with science and space exploration as a kid, and my first dream as a little kid was I wanted to be a pilot, and I wanted to fly jets, and I wanted to maybe go to space. So that was my first dream. But then
still happen, There's this thing just took off the other day.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Put a trumpet and horn on there next time.
The thing is, you need to be able to see, and I can't really see very well at all. So
you can't see very well.
Yeah,
you've got lenses in.
I have lenses, yeah, since forever, since I was a little kid. So that went away, but music was right, and right about that time, my father played me that first record of Pictures at an Exhibition, and I never looked back. So.
Oh well. It's funny. It's hard to say what you would have done because I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah,
I just love it so much.
But I really love coffee too.
Coffee?
Yeah, I could see maybe having a coffee shop one day when I'm retired. That'd be fun.
And on that note, I think we can take our Horn Hangout mugs down to Starbucks, or no advertising. I'm sure we can find something else near here. Have you got any tips for really great coffee? Around here, Lincoln Center?
Around here?
Yeah.
Indy's not bad.
Indy's pretty good.
Joe's pretty good.
Yeah.
Joe over on in Amsterdam, maybe? I think it's on Amsterdam.
All right. I think it's time for coffee, guys. Thank you so much for all your questions and for joining in. And it's just such a pleasure to meet. We didn't actually know each other very well at all.
No, that's true.
So it's been wonderful to get to know you. And thank you. And I'd say cheers to Chris Martin. Bravo to Chris Martin. Thank you to the New York Philharmonic Archives for having us.
Thank you.
Huge thank you to this handsome man in the Horn Hangout t-shirt behind. Handsome Tim Kelly. He has been really tireless in organizing all these 4 Hangouts in 5 days in two cities. So
really amazing.
Thank you for that, Tim, and for streaming it on 5Stream. Thank you to all of you and to you for watching. And it's time for coffee. See you soon.
Ciao.